Because our iPhones say 8:32. Welcome to our October 8th Board of Director meeting for Citrus Connection. We have our first item on the agenda is our approval of the September 10th meeting minutes. I have a motion to approve. Mayor, you need a second.
A second, yeah.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye. Yep, perfect timing. Motion carries. Item number 2, we had our public hearing meeting on September 17th. I would also entertain a motion to accept those minutes. Second, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Anybody? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. So those are approved as well. I'll open it up for item number 3, public comments. I see Julia coming to the podium. Good morning, Julia.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Members of the board, members who are here, and people out online. I bring you greetings from the Polk TPO. Polk TPO staff are pleased to see Citrus Connections Transit Development Plan and the opening of your public comment period on today's agenda. And we look forward to your eventual getting it over the goalpost. We stand ready to assist Lambted and Citrus Connection in the next transit development plan update cycle 5 years from now. We enjoy the continuing partnership. We remind you of your TPO board meeting tomorrow, which will be on PGTV, which includes several items that are important. The TPO's long-range transportation plan will be introducing the cost feasible element. This includes items from the transit development plan. Tom Phillips will make a presentation about the Citrus Connection and all of your exciting news. At the end of the meeting, Ron Portick will make several announcements, one of which is very, very important. Following the TPO meeting, you have your Public Transit Authority meeting. After that, tomorrow, the Polk TPO will be filming the live portion of our public involvement process for the long-range plan and the TDP, which will air on social media platforms on October 15th at lunchtime. Again, that will include transit. Lastly, you have at your places a flyer about the Polk Vision Zero program, Safe Streets for All project, which is having a public workshop community event in Winter Haven on October 28th in the evening. Please share this flyer with all your friends and relations and contact lists. We hope you will all join together to support the goal of zero traffic fatalities and serious bodily injuries on the roads here in Polk County. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Julia. Anyone else who wants to address the public comments? I'm glad you brought up the TPO meeting. I was able to meet with Julia and Ryan Portick and Amanda Carpenter, who's the new NPOAC executive director. Was that last week? That was last week. We met last week and that was very encouraging, and we're excited that TPO and Citrus Connection work so well together, especially in our long range planning. All right, we will move on to Ms. Rhonda Carter, our CFO, for our financials.
All right, I'm on page 4. The Lambted monthly financial statements through August 2025. Total revenues equal 14.9 million or 94.7% of the annual budget. Farebox revenue reflects 279,000 or 79% of the annual budget. FDOT operating revenues received are 2.6 million, which is 100% of the annual budget. And FTA section 5307 operating grants are 2.6 million or 74% of the annual budget. Expenses for the month through August 31st, 2025 are 14.3 million or 90.3% of the annual budget. Salaries and benefits are 2.7 million or 91% of the annual budget. And fuel and lubricant expenses total 491,000 or 74% of the annual budget. Based on the year-to-date to budget to actual, August 31st, Lambton has a favorable variance of 0.7 million with 92% of the fiscal year complete. Any questions?
Wonderful.
Is there any questions? Okay, we'll move on.
Moving on to Polk County Transit Services monthly financial statements through August 31st, 2025. Operating revenues are 9.8 million or 88% of the annual budget. Farebox revenue is 44,000 or 70% of the annual budget. FDOT grants received are 1.4 million or 98% of the annual budget. And FTA grants received to date are 3.4 million or 76% of the annual budget. Total expenses are 9 million or 89% of the annual budget. And operating expenses are
The 81%?
89% of the annual budget. Salaries and wages, I'm sorry.
No, thank you, yes, thank you.
Okay. Operating expenses total 2.5 million or 81% of the annual budget. Actual revenues exceeds expenses by 0.7 million.
Yes,
question?
Mayor, no.
A question, what's the lag and is it normal on the FDA thing? 76% funding?
Well, usually most of the lag on the FTA is due to we bill the grants after we've had all the expenses. So we have to incur the expenses before we bill the grants.
So we're 60 days back really on receipts? Is that about right?
We're up to July and we still have August and September. There's 60 days. Mhm.
And so when we don't ever realize that before we close our fiscal year.
No, we do when we do the audit, everything is billed by the time we do the audit. But when you hear September is usually 3 or 4 months after the audit is done. When we do the preliminary financial statements for September, no, we have not fully been billed.
So it's no concern, that'll be fine.
No, we're not.
It'll be
Correct.
right.
And we're in the government shutdown right now, so unable to bill FTA grants, but they would, and finance department continue to business as usual and tracking those grants and billing those grants. So as soon as the government reopens, we should.
And then they'll retro it.
That's correct. But
Yes,
we have no indication to date.
Right. Right, so moving on to transportation disadvantage.
okay. Transportation disadvantage through October 31st, 2025. Transportation disadvantage is on a different fiscal year. It's from July 1st, 2025 to June 30, 2026. Total revenues for transportation disadvantage through August 2025 is $218,758 with 15% of the or 15% of the annual budget. And the total expenses are $214,980, which is 15% of the annual budget. And revenues exceed expenses by $3,778.
Good job.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
It is, good, right?
We've been upside down for a long time.
That's. Oh, that's awesome. All right, any further questions on TD?
And that's a different fiscal year.
Yes.
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 March.
Yep.
April 1st, right?
Which makes everything really good.
Yeah.
Why make it easy?
17% of the fiscal year complete, so we can move it.
Yes, Michelle. Yeah. Those are our friends in other places. All right, we have an approval item as item number 4G, the PGTA State Transit Block Grant Program. This is an approval item. And Ron, are you gonna present this?
Yes. Request approval for the 2025-2026 FDOT's State Transit Block Grant Program. The total funding for the project is $3,942,644. This is a 50-50 grant. This grant will cover operating expenses for the district and Polk County Transit Services. The total funding is $1,971,322. This grant is a consolidated grant, so the Lambton portion of the grant is $1,141,488. And the county portion of the grant is $826,594. This is an approval.
And yesterday during our agenda study, Tony kind of walked through for me the history of the
Yes,
blend.
yes,
Can you
Chair.
do that really quick?
I can, thank you. So we are celebrating 10 years this month of the consolidated countywide transit system. 10 years ago that we did that. So prior to, the merger between Polk County Transit Services and the Citrus Connection, this was two grants. One that was received for the Winter Haven area that was designated recipient of the county, and one for the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District. As part of the merger, this became one large block grant. And then it was our responsibility to come up with an allocation method so that the dollars being spent in the district stayed in the district, and the dollars being spent by the county were spent in the county. And so we do that based on revenue miles, which is how we then carry through the same thing with our municipal funding. So we're very consistent in how we do that. So that's where we are right now. It's good for the taxpayers. It's transparent. The county understands what we're giving them. You understand what we're keeping for ourselves. It's fair and equitable. And then most likely in the next census, federal census, we could see the federal Lakeland urbanized area, which I know you as Lakeland City Commissioners and the mayor hear about all the time. But the Lakeland urbanized area and the Winter Haven urbanized area from a federal perspective are very, very close to becoming one large urbanized area. So when that happens, the same thing would happen with our federal dollars. We come up with a apportionment for the county, and then we come up with an apportionment for the greater Lakeland area. The exception, obviously, being the Four Corners area. There's now a new urbanized area up in the Four Corners area that's kind of standalone. So we get a small portion of that.
And you wouldn't aggregate that piece in.
No, we can't. That's a third, that would be, well, at that point, right now, we're a designated federal recipient of three areas. The
Right.
Lakeland urbanized area, Winter Haven urbanized area, and the new Four Corners, which is allocated out between us and Lynx.
Yeah.
And their TPO.
Right.
Yeah.
Those two will not collide for quite some time, although it comes correlates explosions. Ask us in 20 years.
We won't be around.
We're term limited.
You'll be interested in engaged.
You guys saying I told you so. But we hope you're right.
It's kind of like this variant said.
We'll send the Citrus Connection hovercraft.
That's right.
There you go. My little, George, yes. I did, just a clarification, you're one of the only counties that do this, correct?
We are still to today, the only Federal Transit Administration designated recipient that has received recipient status from another. And the county is the only county in the United States that is willing to give up its designated recipient status to another.
It's amazing.
And that's thanks to Leanne Thomas, Collins and Knight in the county, helping the Federal Transit Administration understand that you are not abdicating responsibility and to grow public transit. That then Commissioner Lalonde effectively gave DOT the roadmap to say, now we need to figure it out because the feds are comfortable with that. By doing this with the block grant, they then set the example for what we know will happen. So yes, we're still the first in the country.
I appreciate that. I wanted to clarify that for myself, because I remember we had spoken about it several times, but I guess my real question is there anyone else trying to model what we're doing here? Because I know that we are all very concerned and very driven on growing our transit, and we, as our infrastructure is not catching up, we're trying to grow our transit, especially our micro transportation, different pieces like the speeds and stuff. But I'm just concerned or was hopeful that maybe someone else is actually watching us or maybe modeling something like that.
I don't know of any. Before, you know of any? I haven't seen anything.
I would say Tampa Bay, currently.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I've had for 10 years, someone looking and saying, wow.
Yeah, there has been discussions
This
about
is worth it.
consolidating part of the STA
I feel comfortable with them now.
for some time.
Let's get it right. Let's get it right, and then make
Commissioner
sure.
Lalonde,
Valid
there's-
point.
Yeah, there's some history with T-BARTA. Okay. The Tampa Bay Regional Transportation Authority.
So I just wanted that.
Discussion about bringing them together there's always been discussions at the state level about merging part with the STA.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't bring it up was that there's currently discussion about part actually being restricted to the city of Tampa. Only, and not being able to provide service in the greater Hillsborough areas. What was concerning to me professionally about that conversation was they were almost saying, if we restrict part to Tampa only, then they can go back and service the other municipalities if they wanna pay for it.
Yeah.
Which felt very, very much like our municipal funding agreements, which we used to call fair share
Yeah.
agreements. And we know how much time it takes and political effort it takes to have that. Part already has that. So what Tampa Bay's, they talk about regionalism a lot, and then they talk about the opposite, but I believe there's over 167 counties in the United States that have federal funds available to them through the Federal Transit Administration, but they cannot take advantage of those because there's no local revenue source to be able to leverage those federal funds.
We were, Polk County was really ahead of the curve again.
Way ahead of the
Yeah,
curve. I mean,
so if you think about Polk County and how 100 years ago, we taxed ourselves to build roads. I mean, the forethought that happened in Polk County to say we want paved roads all throughout the county, and we did our own tax on it, and the community said yes. That's how we built all of our road system. And it's something that gets neglected, I think, a lot historically, that people don't really notice that we have done, and that we actually have been a forerunner in transportation and road management and all that kind of thing, and thinking about, like, even when I grew up in Davenport, we had sidewalks everywhere on the grid, both sides of the street. So the planners back 100 years ago thought about these things. The growth that occurred because of agriculture, sale of land, is really where we got kind of sideways a little bit, but I think that we are a leader in this, and it's really, and I love your point of, are we being viewed as a best practice? I think that would be a good thing. It's a little, it's complicated, but, and our neighbors to the west have struggled for a long time with how they manage it. Mayor Metz, did you?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the, public transportation benefit.
Who wants to get onto the bus? Do I have any discussion or questions? Nope. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now, I know this is what you want to talk about. We have 4 buses coming on. Rhonda, just.
Okay. Request approval to purchase 6 paratransit buses. The funding is available on FTA 5307 CARES Grant FL 2021-007. These buses will replace the existing vehicles because they are nearing their useful lives. There are 6 Ford E450 vehicles available under the TRIPS contract via ABC Bus Parks Incorporated. The cost of each vehicle is $171,100 with a total cost of $1,026,600.
Motion to approve.
Second, any discussion, we want to ask you.
Comments, Jay?
No comments.
No further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. New buses, Jay. All right, general manager performance evaluation, Vin Darby, you're up.
Yes, that first item actually is an informational item, as you know, the process is proceeding with regard to the renewal of the general manager's formal agreement, and also as a part of the terms and conditions, the salary and the performance evaluations can be completed and considered. Salary. I've received 3 out of the 5 performance evaluations at this point, so it's suggested that the matter be continued or handled between now and November meeting.
Okay, so if you haven't submitted that to Ben, please do so
Yes,
as soon as possible.
thank you.
Well, make sure you got mine, dude.
I got it.
I did not get mine. I'm the bad child. Those 2 bad child.
I'm sure that mine's sitting on the computer up here.
So what-
I apologize.
Online Zoom, yeah.
Do we get those done now?
I don't guess so, I guess so.
No,
No.
this side of the table got that. Well, you're kind of, not just. All right, then moving on to LVIM.
So service agreement between the district and local volunteer medicine for provision of service to patients and staff of LVIM for the term of 1 year beginning October 1. Beginning next September, putting $250 a month. Scaling may have further details or may not.
They just want to do a pilot program for 1 year, but it looks like golden. So will they, so it's LVIM, so will they show landlord card or something?
Yes, ma'am, they have a card, and they've already provided it to us, so our bus drivers will know student events. For that, that's the card that would be used, so.
So they can get on anywhere on the route and go to LVIM for service and then go back free of charge to the patient.
They can go anywhere.
Anywhere. Anywhere, yes,
That's how most of our.
it is true universal access.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
Unmitigated fixed route service, they want to do door to door through paratransit, that's still the $2 fee. If we took them on TV, that would be a registration process, but this is unfettered access to the system. They have some issues relating to healthcare and they need services at LVIM, chances are they'll need a grocery store, or other things as well. So Alice and her board are really providing a comprehensive solution for us.
I love it. All right, this is an approval item. Do you have a motion? Motion for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
With enthusiasm?
That's what I was thinking.
Motion passes. All right, land resolution.
Resolution 26-01 for the addition of land south of Old Polk City Road, west of Epicenter Boulevard, and north of Skate Road 33, north of Lakeland. It's actually vacant now, as I was talking to farm just recently. It's a parking lot that's in the Skyline Industrial Park. And I was looking at property appraisals this month, and now it's still $55,000. $41.
So we don't have that.
As to whether it's, will it ever be improved? It may or may not be, but at least that's probably the benefit this week and some tax refund from it.
Goodness. Motion to approve.
Second. Motions, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thanks, Ben. Nicole. Hey, Ella, is that plan in this packet that's on our screens?
No,
Okay.
it's, but you have it here on your computer.
That's what I'm looking at. It's in the here.
Hold on just a second.
I'm just getting to it. Yeah, this is strategic.
I don't see it from
I don't put it on this, but it's okay, we can walk here on the screen, and then it's in everybody's calendar, and your email you got from Ellen.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, board members. Today we're going to really kick off the strategic plan for fiscal year 2026. Myself and Carly will share with you an overview of what we did at the retreat, as well as really how we plan to get to success this year. Ellen?
It's not working.
Okay, so on June 10th, we had our board retreat that included the board of directors as well as members of the executive staff team, as well as some other senior members of the Citrus Connection team.
Can I see?
Oh, I
don't
think
know
it
why it's
just
not
worked.
working. Oh,
All right, so what are our key takeaways from that meeting?
I need batteries.
Okay, so we really talked about what success looked like and how we would get there. We identified 3 areas that we were gonna focus on this year to be successful: customers, community, and employees. So when we talked about customers, we really talked about the customer experience and really delivering that 85% of on-time service to our customers. We talked about investing in employees, and when we talked about that, we were thinking 90%, retaining 90% of our workforce. In developing strategies to do that. And then community value, we really spent a lot of time focusing on what is our community perception, right? What does the community think about Citrus Connection? And working this year to establish a baseline of community perception.
So out of this, we have 3 different success outcomes, which means we have 3 different success outcome champions. So starting with the improving customer service by delivering 85% on-time performance, our success outcome champion is Paul Sims, our director of operations. Sorry, Paul. And his support team will be the senior leadership team. Next slide. And investing in employees, our success outcome championship will be Tony Turt, our director of HR, and he will be supported by our leadership team as well. And our final slide, for our last but not least, is Erin Kilgore-Kinlaw for our community value and how our community perceives us. Her support team is the leadership team, the board, and Tom.
So just to add to that, while they are the champions, they are not doing the whole plan, right? The plan has very specific activities for each quarter that other departments may be responsible for. Paul's just gonna say, Nicole, did you get that done? Where are we on this? How's it looking? Right, so that he can report back at the end of the first quarter. So defining success. We talked about, we've said the 3 areas that we want to focus on. The next step was, how do we get there? All right, so how do we get there is really thinking about what activities do we need to do to get the outcome that you have really slated us with, right? So for instance, this is a great example. An activity might be the interaction with customers. What interactions specifically are those that will help improve customer satisfaction? And then your success outcome would be that Net Promoter Score. So in your packet and in the actual strategic plan, you'll see that there's a chart that has our success activities slated for the year for each of the 3 success areas. So for instance, customer experience Q1, they will have a list of activities. And we will report out on that. We'll build a scorecard so that you can see. So each quarter, there are a list of activities coordinated with us reaching that goal, that milestone of 85% on-time performance. And you can see the same for operator retention. So some of these have already been implemented. We implemented the 4-day work week for our operators to see if that will help with retention. So we will, Q2 and Q3 will evaluate the effectiveness of that activity. And then Q4, we may suggest some recommendations to improve it.
We start, sorry, Q1 and starts June 1 or what?
No, Q1 starts October 1st.
Thank you.
Yes, beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay. All right.
Next slide, please. Oh, okay. All right, so for community perception, how do we figure out what the community really thinks about Citrus Connection? We're gonna do a survey. We're going to host some focus groups. We're gonna do some intercept interviews. Erin, do you wanna explain what intercept interviews are?
So the definition, I don't know the definition of intercept interviews. What we're going to do is we're kind of gonna do walk and talk. So if you've seen on Instagram or TikToks, those kinds of things, we're going to have our team go to the terminals, go to bus stops, go to, transfer points. And just kind of do a, what do you think about Citrus Connection? Even some of the ones that, with the suites, like we talked about the suites before, if you would ask somebody what they think about public transportation, they would say, I've never used it, and they're riding the suite, they have no idea that it's public transportation. So those are the kinds of things, it's a twofold for us because the marketing staff is so small, so we're gonna use them as social media presence too, but, they'll help with the community perception as well.
So those activities that we're gonna do for community perception will result in establishing that baseline community score at the end of Q4.
So how did we prioritize the success outcomes? Next slide, please. If you remember when we were at Board Retreat, everybody got the little dots and we stuck the stickers on the posters for what, we thought was the most important. And what came out of those was our 3 success outcomes. But most importantly, it's the percentages, right? So 39% of us decided that improving the customer experience was the most important outcome we needed. The next 2, investing in employees, was at 36%, and the third one, community value, was at 25%. So these percentages matter when we're looking at our community scorecard that we're going to be presenting to you in the future. That will actually be weighted based off of the percentages you see on the screen. So next slide, please. And in order to make sure we're all staying on top of the plan, making sure and moving the plan forward, we will have a cadence of accountability, which is quarterly. It's set up exactly how that chart was that Nicole went over. So we'll present our first quarter to you guys at the February board meeting and continue that all the way through the year quarterly. So now we stand for questions.
Well, I like the cadence of accountability. I think making sure that we don't have a plan that sticks on the shelf is really important. Mayor Mans.
I like the emphasis on what matters most first, and that's what we're always working. You get beyond more than 3 issues, it gets really hard to do, and so I think I love this.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Great. Yeah, sorry, Mayor. Mans.
I do.
Oh, yes.
It's late, because I'm sorry, it's my fault.
That's okay.
But the marketing side of this is super important. And that intercept or whatever that thing is, that is a great opportunity to really help people think when they're watching. So you want to make sure they're good, those strategic questions, and really trying to pick up those answers that really help kind of move people from, wow, I didn't even think about that. And that's available to. And so you can really tell a wonderful story with those things, and you can do it in a good fashion, in a way that people buy with it.
Commissioner Santiago.
In reference to making sure it doesn't sit on the shelf, like you said, are we gonna get an updated report on this, like at the reporter, like you said that?
Go back to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
Yes. So we'll give you,
No, you're fine.
so we will present the data to you, but we'll also give you a written report. On where we stand.
Going to hear what some of your surveys, because you're right, some people can take the squeeze and not even realize that it's public participation. And, talking to them, you can, and the fact that then they know, and then they'll share it with other people, that's the important to know.
Yeah, absolutely right. When you do the Kiwanis Rotary, legal and voters. Legal and voters, when you do the whole thing, I say, how many of you have been in the citrus setting for 14 years? And 1 or 2 hands go. Now I'm able to follow it up with, and how many of you have ridden the squeeze? And let's say 30%, 40% of their hands go up. You have ridden the citrus. Right? I mean, literally, that's the opening of our presentation now. No, that is public transit. That's you are utilizing, you are using it. But for them, it's creating that link of value that it's all citrus.
Nor do they even know who's funding.
Absolutely. Right. If they had any clue.
It's good, well, it's good to go back and read them, so that's always good to question. Anything else I think you guys did a great job in strategic plan. I really liked our consultant. I don't know how the rest of the board members felt, but Mark was excellent, and I think that he drew out good intel and connectivity and so it's well done on that. Great.
Thank you. Great, I think our next one is TD, right? TDP, yes. Right. So today we wanted to present to you the draft TDP, Transit Development Plan for Citrus Connection. Just to give you a little bit of history on that, it has traditionally been led by the TPO because we didn't have a planning team here at Citrus Connection. So in the future, we're hoping to move it in-house. This major TDP is early this year. And why is it early? Is because we're trying a new strategy, right? To tie it to the long-range transportation plan, where we can then jointly merge some of the public involvement activities and those types of things. Killing two birds with one stone, essentially, and really intensifying those efforts. So I wanted to share with you what we've done so far this year. All right. So let's start with what is a transit development plan. I feel like I want to ask a question. Do you know what a transit development plan is? But I'll just tell you. Okay. So it's a 10-year vision for transit. One of the big things that we want to say when we're thinking about the transit development plan is that it can be changed. Remember, while we're doing a major TDP, certain things become priorities just over the years and times change, right? So when you're planning something 10 years out, you might say, hey, we want to drop this and add something into it. We have the opportunity to do that with the transit development plan. It's not a budget. It's not a capital improvement program, and it's really not a binding agreement. So it's how we see things today for the next 10 years. But as things grow and change, we can change it as well. So,
Yes, question, Mr. Singh.
yes.
Can you do addendums to it or?
We can do addendums to it, yes. And then, so we do a yearly update as well. And that's really the time where we get to add things or take things out. We had to do an addendum for Tiger Town to add it to the TDP when we first started.
Do you have a time frame for that? Like you do that annually or how do you do this?
Yes, so the updates are annually, and then the major TDP is 5 years, every 5 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so our current existing service, we have 32 routes, 5 squeeze services. We're Monday through Saturday with 1 Sunday route, Legoland, and $1.50 fare one way. Okay.
So through this process, we did extensive public outreach through a number of different methods. We've had stakeholder interviews, we've had public input surveys, bus operator surveys, and that kind of things like these. And out of that, we actually had more than 1,300 members of the public engaged by this process and through this process. Notably, I want to say that our public input survey responses were really high at almost 800 responses. And our open house public workshop participants was at almost 130. So that is a significant number of our public that we engaged. And through that process, next slide, we were able to get results from the public survey that we did. And we found that about 50% of people who responded knew and had used transit before and used Citrus Connection, and 50% did not. And a margin of them didn't know that Citrus Connection really existed. Their top destinations through the survey was work, shopping, and getting to and from a major airport. And the top transit needs, next slide.
Sorry,
Yeah.
get back really quick.
Yes.
Just a note for future reference and for the public, when we say shopping, it's not always recreational. And I just think we should always ask
Yep.
that because we had a huge discussion when I first came on the board about what shopping was, and that's like groceries and that's like
Yes.
medicine. And so
Yeah.
I think that needs to be delineated, especially in our public outreach.
Yeah.
Because I do think some people get confused, like, oh, 20% of people that might lean to not want to fund transit might be like, well, why am I paying for people to go shopping? Well, they like to eat.
Yeah, it's a necessity,
And have medicine.
yes,
Right,
yes.
so that's in shopping.
So I think that would be really important, just to know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
So through that, we had our top service needs, which our top 3 was most frequent bus service. earlier and later weekday service in Summer of Polk County. And I just want to note on that second one with earlier and weekday service, we are starting to address this problem now. FDOT graciously awarded us a really cool grant that allows us to extend our service by 3 hours on our 5 most popular routes. So we are starting to touch on these needs already. Slide.
All right, so in developing the 10-year transit needs, we looked at community outreach, our operating environment, land use and corridor assessment. That really helped us develop the plan and the policy. Right, so the 2035 needs is about enhancing the existing network, new local services, and then new regional and rail services. This is kind of a hot topic right now when we're talking about Sunrail and those types of things. And then microtransit. Microtransit keeps coming up. So we're glad to know that we're on the right track, right? We already have microtransit. So how can we improve it, get better? Great. Capital and technology and policy needs, the Lakeland Intermodal was a big one. And again, we're already on top of it. We sent out the RFP, we got our responses to the RFP back for the intermodal, and we have selected a consultant, so excited about that. East Polk County Transit and Maintenance Facility, kind of on hold right now, but something that we need to keep moving forward, right? So we keep it in our long range plan so that we can get that done. And then those new transit center super stops. So thinking about where those super stops are within our network and how do we develop them, right? So making sure that those transit stops are really interconnected. New park and rides, we heard a lot about new park and rides. So thinking about where they need to be and how they will be successfully implemented into our network. And TSP queue jumps, we are actually working with DOT right now on some queue jumping technology. They've graciously given us the TSP equipment. We don't have it yet, is that correct, Jay?
What's all that mean? I'm sorry. What's TSP and what's a queue jump?
So the queue jumps will help us at red lights. They give the light notice. They haven't updated us yet. Okay, so they allow us to kind of notice that, hey, the bus is coming. So they either hold the red light the other way so the bus can get through the light, or
If they.
Or
lengthen
advance
the
it,
light,
or
right,
advance
they're
it,
using a lot
yes.
for like ambulances, police and things like that.
What's TSP stand for?
Transit signal priority,
Thank you.
so it's kind of the same idea,
Yeah.
really.
Yes.
Just remember, we don't do this all the time.
This will roll out on Florida Avenue. This has been one of Chuck's top priorities.
Yeah.
Dating way back to the initial discussions about the road diet. And so imagine as, again, as this is a topic that's coming up again and again, I see the members of the media today and the road diets coming up because it's election season, that Citrus Connection really was able to improve its service in the corridor as a result of the road diet.
Yes.
So although we lost 14 of our most popular stops in the area, the road needed to be fixed. And so we're a participant in that. And so we partnered with DOT and came up with the solution for the Peach Line, which has been extremely successful in effectively simulating what we've lost, but then for the senior high rises in the community, creating this circulator that links them with grocery stores and other things in the region, and the ridership continues to go up month over month. So now, being behind a Citrus Connection bus in Dixieland is not a curse. It's not a blessing. It will become a blessing when the queue jumps and the
That was-
TSP comes, because now get behind a Citrus Connection bus in Dixieland, because you know that it's gonna keep those lights green just a little bit longer. We're not police, we're not gonna turn them green. But it'll hold the green a little bit longer. So relief's coming. There will be a day very soon when you wanna be behind a Citrus
You don't
Connection
want
bus in
to get
Dixieland. No, you don't. You wanna keep, Anna will make sure we're car lengths
Let's
away,
be
but,
careful on our messages.
yeah, you don't wanna draft the bus, you just
Right.
wanna follow it.
And then a few more capital and technology needs to go through, just public bus stop infrastructure, we've talked about that. We are in the process of thinking out or researching grants that we can apply for to improve our bus stop infrastructure. Expanding the pass sale and add mobile payments, so with that, we just want to improve what we already have, and we wrote a grant, bus and bus facilities grant for that this year. We are still waiting to hear back, but federal government complication, not
Yeah.
really, but.
Just, what does a super stop look?
So the super stop has, probably, so the super stop would have more than one bus going to that stop, so it's not as big as a transit center. But it would have maybe 2 or 3 transfer points with that stop. With the bus shelters, the super stop shelters usually have the bigger shelter that can hold like 8 or so people instead of the regular small shelter.
Mr. Mayor, I'd say that while we refer to Gallfields as a park and ride facility. Built it, it's effective. The things line, big one line, and big one, multiple large shelters, interactions with Flix, connectivity with Flix, connectivity with Greyhound. So that's a good example. I'd also say, Commissioner Santiago, that you could classify Cosmic Park as well. Now, we call these transfer facilities, we call these park and ride facilities, because that's what the public understands, and they are multifunctional. But what they really are is super stops.
And then advanced marketing programming, so really just ramping up marketing with trying to find youth funding dollars, Karen, to really do some really great stuff and let the public know that we're there.
Okay, so back to a little bit of the public involvement piece of this. We did have, like I said, a number of public workshops where a lot of people attended, and there were a few priorities that were discussed and looked at, starting with later bus service, which again, we are addressing through the grant that we just were awarded, rapid transit on major corridors like 98 and Florida Avenue. So this is specifically transit that's 15 minutes or less on these 2 corridors, and bus every 30 minutes on other major corridors like US 92, 17, 27, those kinds of things. A couple others were just weekend peak service and things like that. So next slide, please. All of those priorities were prioritized based on the criteria on the screen. So cross geographic connectivity, public support, priority transit corridor access and connectivity, funding feasibility and quality of life and improvement. And through this, we were able to rank all of those projects that you saw listed previously. Next slide. And the top 3 priority projects was a Florida Avenue bus rapid transit, which was the 15 minutes or less frequency, US 98 BRT bus rapid transit, and the Lakeland Tampa Express. We obviously saw some needs for frequency improvements and stuff like that we are planning and taking into account. Slide. And then our implementation timeline. So again, this is a 10-year document that we have a major update every 5 years and a minor update every year. That allows us to really start looking into how are we going to make these things actually happen? How are we going to put these services on the road? So some things that we're looking at in the next 5 years or so is increasing our microtransit, starting more shuttles and squeezes, extending our express services and things like that. And the second half of it, next slide, we start looking at the BRTs and the bus rapid transit because those take some time to develop. So they're in the latter half of the plan. We start looking at extending our weekday service across the board, not just the 5 routes, but the entire system to 9 p.m. And we start expanding our Saturday service and our Sunday service. And lastly, what we're looking at the very end of the plan is a supplemental service to Sunrail when it starts extending into Polk County. And then we start the process all over again. Next slide.
All right, so finance plan. So one thing to say, not everything in the plan is financed, right? We don't have funding for everything, but we're thinking about it. And then knowing that those projects are there, we start thinking about how do we get the funding for it. the main thing you wanna look at in this time, in this chart is that fiscal year 26, 25 million for operating, right? Just over 25 million. That doubles by fiscal year 35. Our capital really depends on what we're doing and how we're implementing things, so it kind of goes up and down. So where does our money come from? When we're thinking about it, most of it is government dollars, right? State, federal, local, and then we have agency generated. We have a small sliver of public-private partnerships and we want to grow that. So what's next? This will open the 30-day comment period. We will come back to you next month for approval of the TDP. And then submit it to FDOT in November after it is approved. And any questions?
Yes, Mayor Letts.
Too speculative to be certain, but if you had Brightline at by 2035, 2036 at Holly's location, would we have a service to that? And should that be mentioned?
Well, yes,
Yes.
right, so we have committed to providing service if there is Brightline in our area, right? So yes and yes, and I believe that we have,
I didn't see it.
yeah, I think Brightline is in there.
That's yours.
Oh, wait, about the little-
Yeah, I believe Brightline is in there.
Okay, wait, go
Go
back.
back.
Homeowner. Look back.
I'm actually looking
Yeah.
at the implementation timeline.
Oh.
Should
Oh, okay.
Oh, if it's 36, 35, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be in that latter half. of the
Yeah,
timeline for
yeah.
sure.
so we can add it in there if it's not. But those are the comments that we want, so that we can update things and get it right with the middle.
Yeah, I think even reflecting it to the mayor's point later is important for the public to understand, because it will take.
Yes,
I mean, if we had all the cash and commitment today, it's still 10 years out.
yes,
Yeah, we can run it up there, but there's nothing coming bonus.
right,
Right.
exactly.
And we know it's familiar with that model works well, so. I can't place it for us 15, 14 years ago. The primary function of the 7 counties that surrounded Cook County, which was the CTA. And you had Metro that was running buses into the CTA. ACE's core service was getting suburban workers to and from work within their communities. But then the other core function, almost half of the ridership, was park and ride lot facilities, taking people from their communities to the Metro train stations without those opportunities. So when Brightline comes, when Sunrail extends, both, not here. Imagine park and ride lot facilities peppered throughout our 17 municipalities where you live in Winter Haven and you go to a Citrus Connection parking facility that tells you on an app how many spots are available. You get on a Citrus Connection Express bus that runs you from that facility to the Brightline station or to the Sunrail station. The same thing here. So it's a successful model. We know people are gonna want it, so when they build it, we support that. It's still to this day, one of the most popular components, the most popular component of My Ride, My Roads, the one that people continually ask for, was the express buses to the Tampa Bay Orlando airports from Lakeland. And effectively, that would have been doing a rubber wheel service for what Brightline is projected to do. So it's very popular. People have been asking for it.
Other questions on TDP? Thank y'all. Great.
Thank you.
Good job.
You guys.
Thank you.
Man, I gotta stand up for this one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Board members, Nicole and I are just presenting an update on the Dixieland squeeze proposal. I don't usually stand up. As you're aware, the Citrus Connection received a letter from the Dixieland Neighborhood Association and from businesses asking us to look at extending the squeeze or the possibility of a squeeze in the Dixieland area. The letter was signed by Cobb and Penn, Rec Room, Good Time, Union Hall, Pink Piano, By the Chef Pizza, The Wine Garden, and Prestige Worldwide, which is Gregory Fancelli's outfit. And so we wanted to give an update today because we wanted to give them a response as to what that might look like from a transit professional's perspective. This is no different than when the LDDA asked us to look at the lunch squeeze again, when Aaron was approached by Bartow to come up with a Bartow lunch squeeze, or Lake Wales to come up with the lunch squeeze as well. So without further ado, Nicole, you want to talk a little bit about what you guys designed?
Sure. So first I want to introduce you to the newest member of the planning team, Maurice Fair. Maurice started here at Citrus Connection as a paratransit driver and then a training coordinator, and is now a member of the planning team. So this was Maurice's first project, and actually, Maurice, I'm going to have you explain the route.
So the thinking that went into the route, was.
Come on now.
Come on up. This is your baby, man.
So the,
Yes, he is on brand.
the businesses that, Tom mentioned that they wanted to, frequent, we incorporated into the thought process of just Cobb and Penn, Good Time, Pink Piano. But also, there was a need for Swan Brewing, in the north side of the route. So we wanted to incorporate all the businesses, but also Swan Brewing, but also interconnectivity with our, other squeeze route. So we put that into the process with the Lemon Street Super Stop, but also RP funding. So they have two different areas that they can catch if they want to go into downtown. Not only in the Dixieland area, but also vice versa. So if you're downtown and you want to frequent Cobb and Penn, you have the opportunity to do that as well. So that was all implemented into the route.
So this is the design of the route that we currently have. And so you can see there's two agenda items. The first was this update, and we wanted to provide you with what we think is transit professionals a route would look like, and transmit that back to the Dixieland Neighborhood Association via the letter that they sent us, along with the capital and operating costs associated with that. And ask them ultimately, what do you think? And let's sit down and talk, just like we had with other communities as well. But we've talked a lot, and the chair's been leading us, and you've been leading us into thinking strategically, which is why Nicole's up here as well. And so it really pushed, and there were a lot of folks on senior staff, I want to thank them, that said, like, look, if we're going to do this, specifically Aaron pushed back really hard, that if we were going to, or questioned, no, it's good, it's really good. This was something that was healthy. It was, what is the future of microtransit? We can't just keep adding things on top. I mean, we can, but is that good business? What's the future of microtransit? We need to be very intentional, specifically in the fact that we've been changing the squeeze product in Lakeland with the 2 a.m. service, which is going very well. I'm happy to report I was going to do this under executive director comments. I talked with student government yesterday. The chair is aware of this. Florida Southern students are using the squeeze a lot, as is the community. The feedback has been excellent from the businesses. We're reducing drunk driving, but I'm very happy to report Florida Southern College has only used Uber 17 times. Wow. Since we implemented a partnership with the squeeze. And I'd just like to remind everyone, that includes Thursday nights when we don't operate. 17. And they spent a year's budget in 3.5 weeks last year. So the transition's going well. So
Their parents like it. and that's
Yes,
the Students.
absolutely, yes. When I spoke at Constitution Day, Dr. Martin got up and encouraged the students that this isn't just about a safe night out if you're enjoying adult beverages, but it's for everyone. The evening squeeze starts at 4 o'clock. There's lots going on in Lakeland all night long. So it's a really great opportunity. And then the locals are using it as well. We hear a lot from the drivers that, folks are frequenting different places and riding along. I believe Tony just rode it, and they just kind of rode it for the night and enjoyed it. Yes, he's an employee, but just enjoyed a night out. So people are enjoying that as well. You're not just an employee.
Commissioner Santiago.
Is this, the Dixieland squeeze addition or whatever, is this a permanent? Or is
It's,
this
it's just a proposal.
It's a
They
Just a
request.
proposal, that is it.
It's gonna be, trial time.
Well, if
They requested. we
they
look at it.
requested that we come up with something, we are transmitting that back to them and saying, let's sit down and see.
Okay.
This is what we think works and why. What do you think?
Okay.
So discussing, you want to talk about this letter?
Sure.
Okay.
So as we were looking at this, we created this proposed Dixieland route to tie into our current squeeze, but when you really look at it, it looks like two separate entities, right? Two separate routes that really are not tying Lakeland together. And we thought about, we've been talking about what's the next evolution of the squeeze, right? And we thought this may be a good time to really implement that next evolution, that next step.
So you can see that we're, as you know, we're restricted with the current golf cart model. We're restricted to only crossing an Orange Street due to the traffic study. Last board meeting, the board authorized the purchase of 4 GEM EV6 carts that have doors, air conditioning. They're still street legal on roads 35 miles per hour under. We can go on roads that are over 35 miles per hour, but only for a mile. So again, as Nicole said, this does not feel like one Lakeland.
Right.
Especially when you look at the Lake Morton neighborhood and the college and the access to what the Dixieland entertainment kind of district is. This makes no sense. This is very prohibitive to have to go downtown and transfer and do those types of things. Probably not something someone's gonna do. So what could the squeeze look like if we did this?
Right, so when we're thinking about this and the next step of the squeeze, next slide, please. We thought mobility on demand. Look how much more we could serve with mobility on demand. With mobility on demand, people would have an app. They could see where the squeeze cart is. It would tell them how long their ride, it would be for their ride. And they could reach a lot more businesses and areas because you could get direct service from your location to that business. So this is a mock-up of less than 2 square mile area. And within that area, you can see the additional stops with mobility on demand are the ones in green. So the ones in red are what we currently serve with the late night squeeze. The proposed Dixieland stops are in blue. And the Lakeland overlap is in purple, but you see with the green, there's a sea more of other stops that mobility on demand could service.
And we did not include in this map, because we talked about it later, of doing an overlay into Bonnet Springs Park as well. Obviously, the park closes at dusk, but that would be an overlay as well. So this is something that could happen. So effectively moving from, Ella, if you could go back, a possibility is moving from a route-based system to then that route-based system, next slide, dissolving into an app-based system where you're effectively, Commissioner Lalonde, hailing the squeeze with an app. It's giving you a pickup time for you and your wife and kids at the joinery. It's saying it'll be there in 14 minutes. And then you put in where you want to go and it'll take you there based on a shared ride service. So it's a completely different model. The chair and I talked about it yesterday that one of the restrictions of this is that it's not Uber or Lyft. There is not a for-profit market demand that's going to put more drivers on the street if we do this. So right now we have 3 carts that operate on Friday and Saturday nights. We're proposing to the Dixieland Neighborhood Association 2 carts so that they would have 15-minute service. So if we did do this, we would be dissolving the routes and having 5 carts available within that geographic area. So as the chair and I talked about, imagine maybe 10 o'clock at night, one of the things you could see is the college students are ready to go out at night. They all are hitting the app at the same time. That ride time could go up to, let's say, 38 minutes, 45 minutes, because there's this huge demand. Where at maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon, your wait time is 2 or 3 minutes. Not saying that that would happen, but it could happen. And in a route-based system, it's a full cart, you can see it. So these are conversations to have, but we felt, I think, very strongly as a senior leadership team that we could not bring forward a response to the Dixieland Neighborhood Association without coming to you all about what are possible solutions moving past that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, why the Dixieland route would be important is to understand demand so that we can understand
Thank you.
where are the barriers for this, right? Where the barriers for the on-demand would be based on kind of this pilot testing of the Dixieland and our Lakeland squeeze.
Mayor Mats.
Reliable.
I
So,
do. So,
functionally, how does mobility on demand work then? Do those 5 carts exist? And then they're radioed or?
So you have an app. I'm not gonna say.
We're not gonna use the "you" word.
Yes, but
We're
you
not
have
gonna
an
keep
app.
referring to Uber.
You open the app might be the Citrus Connection app, but it might say
Squeeze.
Citrus Connection Squeeze, right? And you tap on it.
That piece I've got. I'm talking about the operational side.
Yeah.
So the driver
Implementation.
gets a tablet. The request comes through. They're mapped to that location. And then as additional requests come through, the system is determining whether or not it's gonna be a direct trip or it's going to be a shared ride trip.
Where they pick more people. up.
That's the big difference. So that other company does have a shared ride option that is not used by most folks, or
Correct.
really only at airports during surge times.
Correct.
Our system would be completely predicated on a shared ride service, which is why Commissioner Lalonde and his family would not get a guaranteed drop-off time. They would get a pickup time, knowing that it's maybe him, his wife, and his daughter. There's 2 or 3 more seats on the cart. We may do a drop-off or a pickup, or we may arrive without an empty cart.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. It's still predicated on a shared ride service.
And is it possible there might be a transfer point to another cart going south or back goes north?
No,
No.
Once
No.
you're in, you're done.
you're in, you're done. Because the big Achilles heel with this is you want to go out for a night and you're at the joinery and you want to go to Cobb and Penn. You're gonna have to transfer, and Maurice did a fantastic job. I never would have thought about the Lemon Street Super Stop. So there's transfers, these are both safe areas, they're well lit. But asking a family on a night out to, hey, gotta get out of the cart, and even if everything's going great and Paul's drivers or Johnny on the spot and the other squeeze is waiting, it's still a transfer. That again, could be a hindrance to people riding the entire service, and as the chair so astutely pointed out, that if it's a 38-minute wait and you're a Florida Southern student, maybe walking's not necessarily
I think, so one of the things we talked about yesterday is squeeze alleviates a couple things. We have a walking problem in the state of Florida. Well, not in metro areas. In metro, I would walk to City Hall from my neighborhood if I lived in a metro area, you know what I mean? Like, because it'd be too cumbersome to try to drive there. So I do think this squeeze heightens everybody's awareness that there are safe routes to walk from Southern to downtown. Like, it might take a little long, but it's safe unless it's raining. Like, it's manageable. And I think the squeeze sort of heightens that for people. So when you are like at the joinery downtown and you need to walk back to your office, you ride down there for lunch and you're like, well, that's not that far. I can walk back. Like, if I'm on a time crunch or something, I don't want to wait, I can walk back. So you're kind of heightening awareness to pedestrian connectivity. The other thing that you're doing is you're helping with parking downtown and in other places. So it's a trade-off, right? Like, either I'm driving around Heritage trying to find a spot, or I hop on the squeeze and come from South Lake Morton and do it that way. But I think that when you think about Florida, like when I went to Florida Southern a million years ago, number one, you wouldn't want to go downtown because it wasn't welcoming, trying to think the right word, or AKA safe, yeah. So you wouldn't have really walked down there. Now, kids can take the cart to farmer's market and even walk back. Like, if it's a nice day, you can walk back. So I think there are a couple consequences that could happen that would be positive. in this environment of if it is on demand. And you have a 38-minute, you're like, I can be back in my dorm in 38 minutes, like, I can be back in my dorm in 15, like, just huffing it back, you know,
Absolutely.
so.
So. Stay tuned.
Well done on just thinking about it, and that's one of my favorite things about Citrus Connection is that we're really creative. The team is really creative and is really tries to look at things in a different way, but also are open to feedback, like. Even in our agenda study, you know, asking those questions and, you know, having that dialogue is really important as well as sitting here and talking about it.
Yeah, and I want to just again, thank the team. This project, it was exciting to get a solicitation for an exciting project. But there was, and I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, there was a lot of anxiety among senior staff about what are we doing? What is the
What's the goal?
squeeze? What's the goal?
Yeah.
How do we do this? And so it really forced us to have a lot of conversations to get to this point. And I say all that to say that we still don't know what Dixieland's gonna do in response to what we even think is a solution for them. So
Yeah.
that'll be the next step. We'll transmit it. My hope is that we can get a meeting with them and give you an update in November.
Yes, sir.
I would suspect you'll find they'll be very enthusiastic about this concept.
We would need your support, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Chair, that a pilot with a fixed system, whatever this purple line looks like, is the responsible thing to do before jumping straight to mobility on demand. We need to make sure that the numbers are there. I'm very, very proud to lead an organization where you all let us fail once before with the lunch squeeze and then allowed the courage to bring the squeeze back, lunch squeeze back, and it's successful. We don't want to jump right to mobility on demand and ruin a beloved product
Right.
that people love and use every single night or day. And jump ahead of ourselves too quickly. Is the ridership there? I think it is. But we need to see it
But we
first.
test, I mean, that's how we do pilots, like we test and we scale and we test and we take little steps and
We said in senior staff the other day, Citrus Connection doesn't really crawl, walk, run. We just walk and then run.
Hey,
So they skip the
All
crawl.
right,
Could this cause us to slow down our disposition of the 6 transportation disadvantaged units that we are replacing?
no, we have to
No.
replace it.
We have to replace those, Mr. Mayor. I think what
I don't, no, keeping the old ones, keeping some of the old ones, the disposition of.
I think we're already on thin ice with our spare ratio. Right? Yeah, probably not, Mr. Mayor.
But, okay, but maybe 1 or 2 on a heavy night and we're, you know, on the mobility on demand side, could there be a role?
We will explore
Yeah.
that because we will not be disposing of these vehicles before November. So let me talk with Jay and planning on that and we can get back to you.
Just a slow roll.
What this may do, Mr. Mayor, is if we move to mobility on demand service, if the golf carts are done for dinner, for evening, the mobility on demand service would require that we move to the EV6 as the primary
Yeah.
vehicle
Yes.
for evening service. The carts would still be utilized during lunch services.
So you're thinking about it, we'd have to acquire more.
Right, where we've got 4 on order, which would be 3 plus a spare, which covers this. The existing. The carts will stay on lunch squeeze for the foreseeable future. And then this would be a golf cart pilot, which we have capital for. And then if we went to mobility on demand, it would move to a larger vehicle or more safe, a safer vehicle. We don't require seatbelt usage on the squeeze, but we talked about the fact that the EV6s are air conditioned, you're getting in, doors shut. We may want to bring forward a policy to the board where we require that with the EV6, you're putting on a seatbelt.
Do we see a difference in ridership when we go from a golf cart to aside from weather? Do we see any kind of changes in ridership?
Honestly, I don't think that's something we've looked at, but we can absolutely review something. Sue, have you seen the difference?
Squeeze Plus.
Squeeze Plus and the golf
No.
carts? No.
Really?
Consistent.
It's consistent.
I think in general, when.
I don't think it's been used a lot.
Well,
When we actually go to the class,
The weather is bad.
the weather, and most times when the weather starts, people don't go out.
Okay.
And they don't know. Necessarily, yeah, about the EV6. Despite some, I mean, may not go out, and they may not know.
Right. Right, but what I'm saying is there any kind of hurdle? Again,
Mhm.
going back to the
Yeah.
idea that when you ask people, have they ridden Citrus Connection, and then they say no, and then you're like, have you ridden the Squeeze, and they say yes. I just think the attraction of the golf cart, I just don't wanna have a hurdle,
right.
like by implementing closed door where people are like, I'm not getting on a bus. I'll ride a golf cart all day
Yeah.
long, like it's their kind
This is Nicole.
psychological.
So
The
these
doors.
EVs, the doors come off. So we can, in good weather, you could technically have, yeah, that open air feel. We really did look for a vehicle that looks cool, looks fun, you know, so similar to, well, it's not a golf cart, but similar to the Squeeze, right? Cool, fun, efficient. But then when it gets really hot, they also have the option of air
Right.
conditioning, which is great. Yeah.
Commissioner Lalonde.
Really, very glad that you brought that up. That's sort of, just the joy of it, is getting on that golf cart and air blue, blow by. The windows roll down, the doors.
Can we bring up a picture of the EV with the doors off? Possible?
They don't look like picture of us.
And they don't look like regular cars either, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
What's the name of it again?
I just think that we, in our special lovely.
86?
Yeah, the vibe of the Squeeze is very unique, and I just,
What's the name of it?
You were on the web, go to the website.
and just remember, in this room, we all love transit.
That's right.
So we're all drinking the same Kool-Aid, like, I just
Yes,
wanna make sure
yes.
that. Oh.
Yeah, it's super cute. And then the doors come off.
Okay.
So you're still gonna get that, see? See?
You go to vehicles?
And then a little orange, like the Squeeze or something.
Go to, and then scroll down. There's without the doors.
Yeah, yeah.
Meet Rams sound.
Sound.
Jay's already on making
I was just thinking creamsicle,
Sorry.
doors coming off.
No.
No cream.
They're very cute, yeah.
Still on brand.
Okay, thank
Still
you.
on
Yes,
brand.
yes.
Sorry, but I'm glad, listen, I'm glad we had this discussion because
Yeah.
I did not know that, so I was getting a little heartburn over.
Yeah, so it'll be that vehicle, this vehicle here. And those will be here in
December, I think.
December.
Honestly, probably the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Delray
So,
Beach currently has
Commission-
these. If you go to their website, you can actually see their microtransit. And they've also done like a graphic on the side. In fact, I sent it to Nicole. She's like, yeah, these ones we ordered.
Okay, cool.
So cute.
Thank you.
yeah, so
Well,
we'll-
I worry too, because in Gainesville, we have the, because I have 2 children in Gainesville. They have the driverless loop guy thing, and it's like Star Wars and nobody's ever in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's the driverless technology is very exciting. But for public transit, it truly is quicker to walk. And they're very, very slow.
Yeah, no, I wasn't bringing that up.
No,
I'm
of
saying
course, yeah,
For allaying
absolutely.
my fears.
So, those will be here in November, Commissioner Milan, we'll do something where you can drive it on the lot.
Absolutely not.
One.
I will. All right, thank you, Nicole. Thank y'all. Thank you. Also remind me, Maurice, thank you so much. Thank you.
First time job.
All right, okay, we're wrapping up. Tom. Mr. Santiago has some.
We had, sorry.
No, but you go.
Yes, I will go quick. Sun and Fun, we had an excellent meeting with Dean and his team yesterday. We got to see the entire strategic plan for the airport. What we're doing on the strategic plan on the airport and how that impacts Sun and Fun, very exciting things. Looking forward to coming to you with a complete map and route for Sun and Fun. But I am excited to announce that we decided yesterday in conjunction with Sun and Fun
that we will be budgeting for and still be on budget, to run till 11 o'clock at night, the route all weekdays to downtown Lakeland and Lakeside Bay. So what we thought was going to be a one-night economic impact
right.
to,
Okay.
is now going to be every weekday that we're running.
Awesome.
So we'll be getting with the LDDA and the Chamber of Commerce to make sure they understand the opportunity for this. There were 7,000 people who visited Lakeside Village
Yeah.
from Sun and Fun.
Yes,
Lakeside Village.
those are the pings that.
Those are the
Gene
pings that
got.
Gene gets. We want those pings to also hit Glen Park this year and hit downtown. Monday is an administrative, yes, sir.
How are they marketing for that in advance for the people that are coming to sign?
84,000 emails.
I like that.
So we're, right now, we're just doing our logo. So we have a specific logo for the Sun and Fun Express that goes out every month with them. And their Touch and Go magazine. And then starting in January, it's every week. And then once Nicole gets the routes published, that'll be in there with the schedule.
With all their stuff.
Yes, ma'am. And then the arts and transit thing along with the downtown night, which I'll tell you about, but we're gonna have all of that in their communications and then we will reshare all of it.
Yes, so we've selected the Polk Arts Alliance and Daryl Ward and his organization as the beneficiary for the Arts and Transit 2026. So Daryl and his team have come up with the concept of rather than Arts and Transit being a week, would it be a year-long event? And so there'll be some tie-ins with Sun and Fun as well. Just a reminder, Monday is a service day. We got members of the media here, so it's one of those days that we added service to the public. It is an administrative holiday because the union members bargained for their birthday week to have a day off during their birthday week, but it'll be an admin holiday, but buses will be running. We'll be speaking to the TPO tomorrow, a PTA board meeting shortly thereafter. Again, the PTA is an important thing to keep in stasis because if and when we want to move towards countywide transit from a property tax-based model to a sales tax-based model, the only way that we can do that is through the Polk Transit Authority. And I'd just like to say happy birthday to the merger, 10 years of countywide transit. And that is the end of my report.
Awesome.
And I'm sorry about the air. I think it just turned off.
Yeah.
Saves money.
We're good stewards. Okay, seeing nothing further, I will accept the motion to adjourn. All right, thank y'all.